Ooh, today is gonna be a good day. Let's go find out how much power she makes. I figured I'd give you guys an overview of the engine that I've got in here before we get to the shop. Some of you guys remember the video I did on it, but what I've got is a 302 hydraulic roller that I started with. Skipping the story of all of the details about it, my engine builder said it was just cheaper to take that already built the 302 hydraulic roller and just use that instead of converting my 289, you know, as I was going to do the one-piece rear main seal and all that kind of stuff. So it was just cheaper just to start with the 302 roller, the bare block. So then we stuffed it, well, first we punched it out to 347 up from 302, stuffed it with scat forged crank, scat I-beam connecting rods, and then some Keith Black 10.5 to 1 pistons. There's a Trick Flow Track Max stage 2 cam. I forget the numbers, it's like 284 intake 294, I forget the numbers. And then I've got the AFR 185cc heads on top of that, and then the Edelbrock RPM air gap intake manifold and Holley 750 CFM carb, and then the T5 transmission, and then the 355 to 1 gears in the back with limited slip. So one of the things that I'm going to do down here, in addition to finding out what kind of power this car makes, is I want to, the guy that's going to be doing this, he's got like 20 or 30 years of experience with carburetors. He used to teach a class at the community college and stuff with small engines and things like that. And so he's got a lot of background in this. And while I have tuned the carb as well as I think I can to make the carb happy and get everything dialed in, we're gonna just go over it and make sure that everything where it needs to be, that I didn't miss something, I didn't overlook something, just to make sure the carb is happy before we go ahead and do those dyno runs. My engine builder said that this is a 425 horsepower build with all the parts and pieces that we have. So I guess anything at 360 to the wheels would probably be what we would see with a 15% loss. So really anything over that is fantastic, but we'll see what it comes out with, and I'm getting anxious.
because we don't have any vacuum on it.
Yep. Yeah, we're way.
And actually, let's see, which way are we? We're the opposite.
20.
Yeah, we're actually too far
18.
that way. Yeah, because when we had the back, well, I'll get back up there. We would have had it. So, yeah, I think we got too much timing in it. Yeah, so I definitely want to back it off because we're at, let's see, try that. The best. I don't know, it's getting up a little much. There we go. We're probably more in the 18 range, maybe.
Yeah, that's a much better screen. That number right there, that's the one we want. We made some horsepower. Well, a lot of horsepower. Gosh, oh, where to start? Let's see. We made 364 at the wheels for the initial pull, and that last number you saw, that 380 that was on his tablet, he was saying that the reason why the screen doesn't match, something about smoothing the horsepower number or something like that, but the one on his tablet's the more accurate number. So anyways, 380 was the peak power to the wheels, which if you do the backwards math with the 15% loss, that puts us at what, 447, 446, something like that, horsepower at the crank. That's a win, right? That's more than, my engine builder told me that this is a 425 horsepower motor. We got 447. I like it. That's a win. I was there for a little over 3 hours. A lot of talking. I asked a lot of questions to Jeff. He, you know, this wouldn't have taken as long if I would have just stayed out of his way. I'm sure we went over the different settings on why we do this, and if we change the timing on that, and then we did the jets, and then all this stuff, and it was, if anything, it was educational for me, and so I was paying for a little bit of that education, which is fine because I learned a lot of stuff. That I made a lot of assumptions when I was setting up this engine, a lot of research that I had done, things that I had known, videos I had watched, and really for the most part, the engine was set up, my carb and everything was set up fairly good, and it was, you know, it was running, and it made, you know, the horsepower that I was told I would make. But the biggest thing that we found, other than we did change the jet side, I had 71s. in the primary. We did drop down to a 70. And so that just, you know, leaned it out just a little bit, which we were looking for 12.5 to 13.5 AFR for the, on the whole rev range, and we were able to get there. But the biggest change that we found was the timing. When I originally set this up, I was setting it up for 12 degrees, and I don't know if I bumped something or didn't do it right, or I wasn't looking in the right spot or something like that. We found out that we had 18 degrees of timing on this, and I don't know how I got there. Clearly I did it because nobody else has touched the engine. That, and then running the vacuum advance on the manifold. I had it on the ported vacuum way back when I put this engine in the car, back when I first got it, and somewhere along the line I changed it to manifold. I don't know why, I don't know when. So we fixed that, we got it back on ported, but that's only for partial throttle stuff, right? And it's not for the wide open stuff where we're making all the horsepower. But the big thing was 18 degrees is what this was set at, and we dropped it down to 12 because my engine builder had told me 10 to 14 degrees of initial timing is where I want to be, not at 18. So we dropped down to 12, we did another pull, picked up a couple horsepower, and that was a surprise to me, not because it shouldn't do that, but because I didn't understand that stuff. And Jeff had explained to me that the less timing, the better. That doesn't always work for every scenario. But in this car, we went from 18 degrees down to 12, and we picked up a couple horsepower. We dropped it down to 10, picked up even a couple more. And at 10, we had a 375 horsepower pull at 10 degrees. And then we dropped it down to 8, and we went to like 371 horsepower. Was that. So we knew that 8 is not where we wanted to be. You know, if you're just looking at peak horsepower numbers, the 10 degrees of timing is where this engine was happy. Granted, there's a lot of things going on. There's the various parts and components I have on this engine, the temperature outside, elevation, all those things start to play a role. So that doesn't mean that your engine needs to be 10 degrees. But for this one, we found that 10 degrees was its happiest for making peak horsepower. And then also looking at the graph from the initial pull to the peak pull, we could see a fatter, you know, just there was an increase across the whole RPM range, which is ultimately what we want. I wasn't chasing 1 extra horsepower by doing 1 degree difference or whatever. I wasn't worried about that stuff. I didn't want to spend another couple hours there just chasing 1 or 2 more horsepower. I'm not trying to win some horsepower race. I'm not trying to win some quarter-mile time thing right now. So, you know, with this, setting it at 10 degrees and not worrying about it going up or down a degree there didn't matter for me. And then the last thing that we did was we pulled the air filter off on that final pull where I got that 380 horse. So that shows that air filter that I have in here is actually fairly restrictive, to the point where we found an extra 5 horsepower from just this air filter. And just this guy right here. I'm not gonna obviously run it without an air filter, but this is something that it's good to know. I'm limited by the style of this air cleaner assembly. This oval style is somewhat common, but there's not a lot of filters in that size. So if I want to find a more freer flowing air filter, then I'm gonna have to get a different assembly, but I can worry about that later. So whether you say it's 380 or 375, either way, I'm happy. That's more than again, if you back calculate the 425 horsepower that my engine builder said that this engine would make, which goes down to, you know, do the math, it takes you down to what, 360, 361. We're making all of that and a little bit more, and I am just pumped. I'm happy. This is right where I wanted to be. It's great to know the numbers. It's great to know where this engine's at, and also just dialing it in so that the car is happy. The AFRs are where we want to be. We're on a little bit on the ridge side instead of being right there at stoichiometric. There's no reason to run this car on that edge. We might have been able to pick up another couple horse if we got closer to I'm not worried about chasing that kind of stuff. I wanted to get a baseline. I wanted to get this carb happy, and Jeff helped me dial this in, and I'm just super pumped. Okay, so you guys are probably gonna ask, what did that cost? This is gonna be different no matter where you go, depending on what shop you're at. They're gonna have different prices, different things. And he's 150 an hour, and I got 3 hours, so 450 bucks. It would have taken less time if I'd have just dropped the car off, but I wanted to be there to film this stuff, but I wanted to learn. I wanted to ask questions, and I asked a lot of questions. Thankfully, he was patient with me and was able to just walk me through this stuff and explain things. And hopefully, as I go down the road with this, you know, it helps build that understanding of what I'm doing and not messing things up. And if I make this change, this is why that change does this to the power curve or the drivability or whatever and stuff. And so, if nothing else, I paid for a little bit of education and it was absolutely worth it. I'm happy. So that's it, guys. 447 horse. That's what we're gonna take. That's the number I'm gonna run with on this. So I'm happy. This turned out great, and just super happy with it. All right, guys, if you liked the video, give me a thumbs up, and if you subscribe, I appreciate it because it helps my channel out, and we'll see you in the next one.